I'm Brittney Saunders and welcome to Big Business, the place where business is far from boring. And today I'm recording on Gadigal land. Now, I somehow managed to build an empire from the garage underneath my house, and I'm here to share it all with you. From the wins, the mistakes, the challenging times, and funny moments in between. Whether you're in business already, you're not in the game at all, you want some inspo, or you simply just want to hear the tea, this is the podcast for you. Coming up on today's episode, I am joined by a very exciting guest. It's none other than Christian Hull, and I'm sure a lot of you know that name. Christian Hull is an actor-nominated Australian comedian and content creator who has accumulated over 670 million views on his plethora of hilarious videos. Christian is best recognised for his character sketches, guessing paint colours, reacting to hilarious 5-minute craft hacks, and trying to find the soy sauce Coles Mini. Christian has since published his book titled Leave Me Alone, which instantly became a bestseller. And today we're switching things up and talking about something a little different with Christian. He launched a business called Fuck Off Shop in COVID times, and he has just shut it down. He did a video which went quite viral on TikTok and it caught my attention. He was very vulnerable in the video, so I thought what a great opportunity to get Christian on the show and chat all things business, the mistakes that he's made, and why he's made the decision to shut this thing down.
Hi, it's me. Oh, I'm really loud. Yeah, I talk very loudly. Oh my God, but it'll naturally, if I start talking...
Do you want me to just talk louder?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it is his job as a panel operator.
You ready?
No. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Big Business, Christian.
It feels weird to be here talking to you at the end of my business career.
What timing?
What a time. Thanks for reaching out while I'm fouled and closed.
Yeah, we're striking
my
while
business
the iron's
idol.
hot.
I could have used your advice 2 years
You could
ago.
have reached out to me.
I'm too nervous.
Stop.
You're my Janine Ellis.
Stop.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen your comments on my TikTok and stuff over the last, year or so. And I've always been like, oh, that's so nice. You comment nice things on my behind the scenes videos.
When I'm secretly I'm going to copy that idea.
Do it.
Let's make a salad of the worst candies ever, which
How
is genius.
was that?
That was so smart. So just for reference, I've had a business for four years and I've just shut it down because the world is imploding in on itself.
Which is what we're going to talk about in detail today.
Okay.
But yeah, keep going.
And so I used to watch all your stuff and be so inspired
Aww.
by all of your content. Like, I want to do that. And then I try to do it and it's really hard.
Yeah.
You make it look really easy.
I do. And that's something I almost think I'm a little bit guilty of, how easy I actually do make business look.
You make it look really simple.
I don't intentionally set out to go, I'm going to make this look like a piece of piss.
But I think it's really motivating. It was really motivating for me to go, all right, I can do it. I mean, except your products are way more valuable and needed than my dick soaps and dick cheese boards and a water bottle in the shape of a penis.
It's iconic though, come on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Is it?
It is. We're gonna dive into that today. But if there's one thing that I'm really passionate about on Big Business when I do get guests on, which isn't all that often, so consider yourself lucky.
Oh, thank you.
But I want to get guests on to speak about the realities of business because as fun and easy as it all looks on social media, business is actually really hard. And that's something that I always say here on the pod. I'm not really going to use my social media to kind of say, this is fucked and this is happening. But I feel like on the pod, this is a perfect place for us to come together and talk about these issues.
That's why podcasts are amazing because you can in-depth talk about something.
Exactly.
And funnel people there because TikTok, no, they just want 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
they want 5 seconds on bloody TikTok. 2 seconds and I'm scrolling away.
I got a brand deal and they were like, we just want a 20-second video and we want you to do the following. I'm like, how am I supposed to squeeze that into 20 seconds?
It's crazy.
I did and they loved it and it did really well and I was annoyed because I just thought it wasn't going to work. Anyway, cool. That was a tidbit of information I didn't need to share with you.
I love it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, back to what I was saying.
Yeah, sorry.
We want to talk about the real shit here on Big Business. And a video that you recently posted on TikTok caught my eye and Xander's eye, producer Xander. And we thought, let's get Christian on the pod to talk about this.
Yeah.
You are shutting down or have shut down your business?
Yeah, last few weeks, closed it down officially on the books 30th of June. Let's just wrap that up for financial year. And I just packed it in. I'd had 18 months of the most unbelievable financial stress and worry because of rising interest rates, cost of living, and because the products that I sell aren't really essential items. No one was buying anything. And so someone actually had to tell me. They were like, you should stop, you should close down. My warehouse team who pick and pack all my orders and who do my marketing. Trudy, yes, was one of them. And then there's a group called the Collab Bar. Okay. So they do a lot of influencer work. Yeah. And they were like, Christian, you're doing everything completely wrong. And you've actually, like, I was in the red $200,000.
Wow.
Even knowing that, I was like, no, I'm good.
It's hard to admit defeat.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
And as soon as Trudy and Sam were like, you know what, that's close. I was bursting into tears. I was on the ferry in Brisbane because that's where I live. And I was like, I think that's a good idea too. And I was bored. It was really quite sad. And because you put everything into a business, like everything. And did you go to uni for business at all? No. See, so you learn all of these lessons that I'm sure they teach you in business school, like tax is a thing.
Yep.
I mean, obviously it's a thing, but when you've got so much coming at you all at once, you're just not realising that. And
no one teaches you, I always say, like, no one teaches you how to be a business owner. No one teaches you how to be a boss. No one teaches you any of those fundamentals of business. You quite literally just learn them as you go, and that's something that I always say. Well, they do in
theory if you get a business degree.
Yeah.
But, like, business and practice is so different.
So different. I feel like you can't learn any of the things without just giving it a go, fucking it up, learning for next time.
I think I joke and I'm like, oh, I'm a failure, I failed. But I actually don't see it like that at all. I'm so excited to launch into whatever I do next because I've made all these mistakes. I know exactly what to expect, I believe. But there's always something. Oh. That's what I've realised. There's always something. So just plan for that always something.
Something fucked up is always going to be happening.
Always.
At all times in business, you're never going to have a period where everything's just running smoothly and perfectly. There's always at least one thing going wrong. And
you think you're on top of everything. A good example of that was maybe 2 years in, I was like, I think I've got this. And then my accountant was like, I wasn't charging enough postage. So I lost $6,000 over the course of a few months in postage. And I was like, And then you realise, and so you up your postage, and now everyone's like, your postage is really expensive. But I'm like, and then you just screenshot the AusPost rates, and you go, but that's what it is. Well, so-and-so isn't charging that. And you're like, they have a deal with AusPost. And if you sell a lot, you get, it's a bit, and then I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then I just have a mental breakdown and hide in a corner, and I would often give those jobs to Trudy, who was ultimately
that's what I laughed at
in
your video. And the reason why I remembered Trudy's name, because like halfway through the TikTok that you posted, to announce that you were closing the business, I love that in the middle you're just like, and poor Trudy, my operations manager.
So Trudy is my best friend, which again, so there's, they say never partner with your best, like she was an employee. Like, imagine that as a relationship. Best friend, but I'm the boss.
Was she your best friend before becoming your employee?
Oh, yeah, for years.
Yeah.
Like, we've known each other for 15 years.
And that has worked out well between you both?
She's very tolerant, and she was a social worker. So she's done a lot of work with troubled teens, and I just fit easily into that category. So she's just able to see things and read things, and I also didn't want that relationship to ever go sour. So there were things like I was never going to reduce her pay. And so, that was one thing that ultimately all the money that I was losing was going into her pay because the business wasn't making money to pay her. So I was having to do it. And I didn't mind, but not when you're sort of not making, like...
It's really hard because you want to look out for your employees.
Absolutely.
But then also you've got to put your business first.
You have to.
Because if the business flops, then how are you going to pay anyone?
That's the thing. You've got to look out for yourself first because you're looking out for them.
Yes.
And it was hard because I didn't want to admit that things... We all knew it wasn't going well, but I didn't want to say that because I thought, what's she going to do? Like... She's a full-time employee. I'll just keep it going and it'll be fine. And then she basically was like, close down now immediately. Here's the plan. And she just like slipped me a plan. That's how good she is. Aww. She knew I'd be like, no, we're Trudy. Fine. And she was like, here's the plan. We've already discussed it. Bing, bang, bong. I was like, on the ferry. What are you going to do? She's like, I'm a big girl. I've also done all of this other work. It'll be fine. It's like, okay. And then just the relief of going, oh my God, that thing that's been, it was like a money bucket with a huge hole in it. And I was making just in COVID just on my own as like a content creator, so much money.
Yeah. So
much. And then so the business exploded via a TikTok of me making some resin pendants in lockdown. And I thought, oh, I'm onto something here. It's like selling snake oil. Who wants a resin pendant for $22? It cost me 50 cents to make them. And I was selling them for 22. And I just got such a big ego. Oh, I could sell anything to anyone.
Yeah.
So then I launched into this business with that mindset, and nothing has ever been able to live up to those. Like, I made $500,000 in 6 months in my pocket.
So let's take it back to when you did start this business. So it was called Fuck Off Shop. Mm-hmm. And you called it Fuck Off Shop because we were in COVID lockdown times and we were basically having to tell everyone to fuck off and stay away from me.
Yeah.
That's where the name came from.
1.5 metres away at all times from everyone.
So that's where the name came from, right?
What a dream. Oh, do you sit there and go, oh, I wish we could go back into COVID?
Sometimes.
I hate people. Like, I'm wearing my hoodie that says leave me alone. Like, fuck off. That's who I am. I hate people. I don't want to be around them. And COVID was this dream scenario. And that's, you know, I moved to Brisbane. I bought a house. I had a comedy tour lined up, which was going to pay the mortgage for a year. I thought, we're all set. And then I moved to Brisbane. COVID happened. Tour was cancelled. And I thought, oh, shit. What am I going to do for money?
So this is where Fuck Off Shop came in.
This is where it came from.
And so what was the first product was it the resin?
Yeah, it was the pendants.
So you were making resin pendants, like pouring them into a mould?
Correct. So I made like 10 at a time. So you just got the moulds off Wish. You bought these moulds off Wish that took 8 weeks
and what
to
was the
get
pendant
here.
for? Like, was it for a necklace or something?
Yeah, and so when I moved to Brisbane, I was all like airy-fairy, like, oh, I love crystals, you know.
Right.
There's a crystal for everything, for love, for passion, for lust. I'm like, where's the crystal that tells people to fuck off? Like, where does the radiate the negative energy?
So you wanted to go into that.
And there wasn't one. So I was like, well, I'll just make one. I thought, that's a bit funny. I'll make it. I'll do a video. And I was, you know, ultimately giving them away to Patreon members.
Yep.
And then they all wanted one. They're like, we'll buy one. I was like, oh, I can't. All right, fine. And then they'd all bought one, and Jess, one of my big patrons, was like, just start selling them. Just open it up and sell them to the public. And I was like, who would buy this shit? And I did. I think what people loved was I would pour the pendants in the moulds and then yell into them to charge them.
That is
fuck off, you dirty fucking bitch. And so I'd yell into them to charge them.
That is hilarious.
And people were like, that's really funny. And so that video blew up and people sort of loved that idea, and it just kept selling and selling and selling, and I was the only one doing it.
And so it was just one product to start with.
One product.
On your website, just the fuck off pendants.
I could only make 8 at a time because that's all the moulds I had. So then I was like, oh my God, I've sold 150 and they take 24 hours to make.
Oh man, it would have been so many hours put into this.
Constant. I had nothing else to do. I was trapped at home. So it was constant. So I was pouring resin. I was doing lives. And so suddenly you're on this hilarious journey of, I've got to make 1,000 of these, but I've only got 8 moulds.
Why didn't you buy more moulds?
I did, but it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get here.
Right.
So I bought all these moulds. Then I went to Spotlight and I was doing their wholesale because I put these little flowers in them.
Right.
Because it was a fuck off flower. To make it, I don't know, fun and interesting.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having a great relationship with Spotlight because as soon as they get the orders for these ribbon flowers, which no one would ever buy, they were like, oh, we'll hold these for you. I'd buy thousands of them. And they would run out and then they'd have to go to their supplier in China. So then it was taking another 6 to 8 weeks to get to them.
Wow.
And so it was just growing and growing and growing. And so what I would do is I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and I'd demold a lot of them and then pour. Mm-hmm. And then go to bed, and then at about 6 or 7 a.m. I could then demold those and pour another one. And I sold 17,000. I made 17,000.
That's insane.
It's crazy. And then it was just sort of like, oh, I think I have a business model here, because then I started making a fragrance, like an essential oil.
A fuck-off spray, was it? I think I remember.
No, so it was a roll-on.
Yeah.
So I got into my essential oils, because it's, again, what you do, crystals and essential oils when you become 85 years old. And so I made a fragrance, and then I thought, well, I'll involve the people. Very Hamish and Andy. It's the people's fragrance. But that's what I'd learnt from my years
People love,
working in
there's
radio.
a tip for everyone listening. People, like your community, whatever your business or product, people love feeling like they've got some input.
Part of the journey.
Yes, they want to have their say. They want to name a piece. They want to say what colour it should be. So there's a good takeaway from this is involve your community.
Yeah, and I'd learnt that from my radio days because you'd involve the listeners in. And what I also learnt in your radio days is you plan the whole story anyway, regardless of their feedback. So you've got a path that you can follow, but it's guided loosely by them.
Right.
Just so it doesn't go too wayward and you get carried away. And so I thought, well, I'll let them name the fragrance.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember her name. Swarovski was a big thing. And she said, call it, because I wanted bougie, she said, call it Fakovsky. No. I was like, that's genius. So I did that, and there was what was a blend of fragrances, and then I got everyone involved. And, I sold maybe 2,500 bottles of those. And that was me pouring, and it was so labour intensive.
So you're mixing essential oils to make this fragrance?
Yeah, I tried to find warehouses.
How did you learn how to do that? Or did you just wing it?
I just winged it. I mean, just go to YouTube. How do I make it? Yeah, cool. And then you price it an exorbitant amount of money, and then... But it was I think at the end of that, I was like, I am never making a product again.
The manual labour.
I wasn't wearing any safety masks, and resin is very poisonous. So I realised that at the end when I had breathing issues. Yep, cool. So that's probably, I'll get resin cancer at some point in the future.
Stop.
But it was very labour intensive, and then I thought, what's the next thing going to be?
And so you've just essentially started with... your resin pendants, and then you've done your
essential oils,
Fakovsky spray.
Yeah.
And then you went from that to so many products. Hoodies, that was your next thing?
Did hoodies and realised, it's so much easier if you just, someone else makes them and you order them. Mm-hmm. And then what's next? And it was Fakovsky fragrant soaps and just Dick water bottles, and then it just escalated into what's funny gag products that I think are funny, because in my mind, if I just made a post about it and the post went viral, I'd sell out.
Right.
Which was lesson number one.
Were you doing any sort of paid advertising, Facebook ads,
none.
Instagram? So it was all organically being sold through you.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with any influencers or anything? It was
have you seen how much we charge?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. And for me personally, my manager will kill me. The return on investment, there is no return on investment. I'm a brand awareness. I can give you brand awareness and I can expose your brand to a lot of people and create some hype. If we want to do a journey scenario, that's the best way to bring me in. But I'm not like your Kim Kardashian who'll be like, I'm having hydrogen water, and then she sells $50 billion worth of hydrogen water.
I think the influencer space has definitely changed, especially me as well, coming from being an influencer now, a retired influencer. Brands still reach out to me today and I say,
Have you retired?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you probably don't have any time.
Yeah. But no, I don't do sponsored posts anymore. I think I've done 2 in the last 2 years. One was for Coca-Cola No Sugar, and the other one...
yeah, because let's be real. How much were they paying you for that one? Good money?
Good money. But
you can't turn it down. Why are you retired?
because I love Coke Zero, so that was easy.
Yep.
And then another one I did was for Zero Software, which is a software that we use in our business anyway, and they let me do a skit.
Yes.
But they're my only 2 that I've done. But even now I get brands reaching out and I'm like, don't work with someone like me because we do charge a lot because we have a large following. Brands these days are better off investing in micro influencers.
Yes, I agree.
People with small followings.
I say smaller brands, bigger brands. At Christian Hull on Instagram.
If you're a big brand, you can reach out to Christian.
Yeah.
But my advice, even for big brands, small creators, 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, small engaged communities is where it's at.
With a niche.
Yes.
Because I would say we both did comedy.
Yeah.
That's not a niche. It's
I'm not
so
that funny
broad.
though. I'm not like you.
No, you're pretty funny. I laughed. I thought you were funny.
Okay, thanks.
But it's our audience is so broad
Yes.
that we're not really talking to anyone specific. So if you talk to someone specific with that 10,000, 20,000 followers on that specific topic, you'll sell a shitload of product.
So back to Fuck Off Shop. You've got your resin, you've got your sprays, then you're doing all dick products. You've turned into basically a novelty store.
Correct.
Novelty, gimmicky, funny gifts to give people.
Yeah.
How quickly did the business grow? Was it really fast or was it...
No, it didn't really grow. So that led me into about 2 years in. So I had pendants, I had hoodies, absolute like $400,000 worth of hoodies. So I sold a lot of hoodies, I sold a lot of pendants, and the fragrances did really well. And that's where I was like, cool, well, this is easy. And then I got a 3PL, which is pick, pack, post.
How did you find that? And for everyone listening, if you don't know what a 3PL is, it's essentially there are these businesses all around the country and the world where you can pay them to warehouse your stock so that you don't have to pack your orders. They have all your stock, all your inventory, the orders get sent to them and they ship them out. And I've heard from other business owners a lot of horror stories about 3PLs because you've lost control over that process. You know, if something goes missing, like they can't contact you to find it. They have to contact, like the 3PL has to find out, right?
Yeah, and so as a business owner, no one knows that. So they'll message you, my order's taking 3 weeks, where is it? I'm like, ugh!
Then you have to
I'm
go
not
to
part of that process.
Yeah, you have to go to the 3PL and it creates this big messy chain.
But you're also suddenly in a queue of people who they're managing. So I go from, you know, I'm the priority in my own business, obviously, into the 3PL who manages, you know,
20 other businesses in
and
one
you're
warehouse.
Making no money in comparison. Like even $500,000 is no money in comparison to what some of their clients are making, multi-million dollars. And so they look at you and go, oh, well, we'll address that customer service later. And so then it becomes stressful. I didn't have any horror stories.
That's good.
But it is scary to hand all of that over and you go, that's okay because now my time is really important. So what am I good at? I'll invest my time into the marketing side. And so I won't be handling all the packing and the posting.
Which is very time consuming, I might add.
It's like the most time consuming.
Yeah.
And trying to work out how to print labels with someone's name and address on it and print 1,000 of those.
Yeah.
Oh!
It's a whole thing.
Pulling your hair out.
So where in this journey of you skyrocketing this business and coming out with all your products, where do you think along that line there you kind of went wrong?
I thought I could sell anything to anyone and I feel like I grew too quickly. So a lot of money in hoodies, a lot of money in pendants, and I just thought, cool. So I overinvested in product.
Yep.
So I'd be like, well, I'll order 1,000 of these soaps. No, they don't want that.
Yeah.
Where's the journey? Where's the process? Why the soap? So it was the pendant. There was a reason why. It was COVID. It was a lockdown. The fragrance, I brought everyone in. The hoodies, I mean, apparel.
A hoodie's a hoodie.
I don't want to generalize because you sell apparel. I feel like can be an easier sell than a Dick water bottle.
Yes.
So, because everyone sort of gets right into fashion and it's really personal.
Yep.
Dick water bottle, not so much. But I didn't know that. And so
you kind of got this false sense of confidence from seeing the success of those products that you'd so heavily taken your audience on a journey with you that then you're thinking, all right, if I can sell these in that way, I can sell 1,000 hoodies, I can sell 400 soaps. And you kind of overdid it at that point.
So the fragrances and the pendants, I controlled the quantities. So if I could sell 1,000 and I could make 1,000 and I could do it. When you're ordering products from China, there's can be a 6-month window from order, manufacture,
it takes so
and shipping.
long. It takes so
and
long.
so I'm like, well, I don't want to sell out this product when I could have ordered 1,000 and made all this money. And by the time I sell it out, that's another 6 months. Then the product's had its day and it's over.
That's one of the hardest things about fashion is how far ahead in advance you have to work. You're always...
like 18 months almost.
You're so far ahead.
Yeah.
And then it's that predicting how many are going to sell in each one. And my advice and if you had reached out to me 2 years ago, I would have said, just go the minimum order quantity.
Same. That's my advice to people now.
Usually when you're making clothes, they'll have a minimum MOQ, it's called, minimum order quantity, and they'll have a minimum that you have to make in that one hoodie in that one colour. And it might be 100, it might be 150, it might be 200. My advice, especially if you're starting out and scaling, just pick that smallest number and go from there and scale your way up.
Yeah, I could not agree more. But I also feel like my personality is I had to learn these lessons myself.
Oh, for sure.
So I will have a lot of people ask me for advice and I go, look, obviously it's advice. Here's what's happened to me. Go and make those mistakes. But this mistake that you're saying, that'll cost you your entire business. You'll lose everything. So just keep that in mind. I mean, Hi Josh has just brought out hoodies.
Yes.
And so he works with the same warehouse that I've got. And so he was like, oh, do you have any advice? I was like, right, sit down. And he took some of it on board. And
He's made like a galah
yeah, he
jumper.
made a galah hoodie, and it sold really well, which I was thrilled but also jealous of. I was like, damn it, how did he do it? And that was exactly my advice. Just go the minimum.
Yep.
Because especially now, it's
Yeah.
really hard to sell.
Go your minimum,
Anything.
start small, hope that it'll sell out, then use that money to then fund the next round.
Have you ever over-ordered?
I wouldn't say to an extreme at all. Our orders are pretty big now because we have this big community. But there's definitely been like pieces that I thought would sell better than they did kind of thing. But I think that's the thing with fashion and apparel is it is a big guessing game. Like you can try to know your audience and customer as well as you can, and you can invest money into something and think this is going to be great, and then they're not as interested in it.
Yeah.
But it's about if you do something like that, pivoting from that. How can we sell this stock? And I guess that's where then your paid advertising comes into play. That's where your influencers come into play, and like having a social media team, which I know is really hard when you have a personal brand like myself and you, like we still feel like we are the ones driving the sales, but it's like putting those people in your team, having a social team and putting trust into them that they can also market your product in a different way than what you and I can.
Yeah.
Even though we still feel like I feel like if I stopped tomorrow, fate would go down.
Yes.
You know, like I feel like I'm driving all the sales myself,
Yeah.
but it's trusting others. It's working with influencers.
Are you though? Are you still driving all the sales? Majority of them yourself?
It's a really hard question.
Yeah.
Like, am I? Like, is it our videos that have
But
me
do you
in it?
notice, like, have you ever gone for periods of where you've gone away or you've
Yeah,
stopped
I
posting?
think I noticed, like, if we always, like, and even my staff, like, in our marketing team, they always like, Brittney, we're doing a shoot next week because they want to get me in the content because they do know that it does sell better if people see
I
me
won't lie,
in it.
it's way more exciting when you're in it. I mean, I'm not your audience,
Yeah.
but I will stop and I will watch all of when you're in it, I'm like, oh, this will be fun. And because
Yeah.
you're so fun and your personality is
and I
really
think that's
engaging.
the hard thing, like being, you know, everyone always talks about personal brand, like we hear personal brand everywhere, and it's really hard to kind of try to step away from it and have a brand scale up into something of its own, which I think Fate very much is like that. There'd be so many people that shop with Fate that have no clue about me. If they don't like follow us on socials, if they just like jumping on our website kind of thing. But I still very much do feel like I am the driving force of like a lot of our sales.
Yeah, I think you always will be.
Yes.
And it's something that we both would have learned in socials is a brand isn't a person, so you can't relate to it. Whereas you're a person, we can relate to you. And so we have a much better connection with you than we would seeing posts from
Some
Fate,
other brand.
basically.
Yeah.
And I don't think that'll ever change.
No.
And so that's why I think your brand is just so hugely successful, is because you've had all of that time on socials, so you've built your following, but you know how to talk to them, and you're so relaxed in front of a camera and you're comfortable doing it. A lot of business owners, like a lot of them ask for advice from me and like, oh, I don't want to be in front of the camera.
And that's a really hard thing because I feel like, and I ask my friends in business, my friend Anita, for example, who does a lot of coaching to business owners. She owns Hero Packaging. I'm not sure if you know of them.
Yes.
Like one of her questions that she gets asked a lot off business owners is like, do I have to be in the content? I don't really want to, but I feel like that's the way like the world is going for businesses.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Heidi Anderson, over in Perth,
Oh yeah, I know
does
Heidi.
similar sort
She's
of.
originally from Newcastle or Central Coast.
Oh, she is too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was on with. It was Heidi, Heath, and Normie, I believe, was the radio show.
Yes.
Yeah, and then she went on Big Brother and she was doing all that. Well, she does a lot of motivational coaching for women, and I was doing some things with her, and I've been following a lot of the women she coaches, and they were all like, "Oh, I'm not going to be in the content." And now I see them; they're in all of it. They do the lives.
You have to embrace it.
Well, you've got to start. You've got to rip that Band-Aid off, and you'll get used to it. Like driving a car. It's very stressful. But then, like today, I don't want to toot my own horn, I drove over the Harbour Bridge.
Look at
That
you
is
go.
the most stressful thing. It is 8 lanes.
Especially because there's all that roadworks happening at the moment.
But there's 8 lanes, and if you're in the wrong lane, you end up going to Newcastle, and there's no way you can turn back. But that you get used to it. You do get used to it.
That's
and
what
it
I
will
always
feel
say too. Like,
uncomfortable.
look back not that anyone's going to scroll that far, but if you scroll far back enough on my Instagram, my videos used to be shit.
Yeah.
Like, you get better the more you go.
Oh, mine is so cringy.
Oh, same. I had to private all my YouTube videos because they're that embarrassing.
No, I left it up because I was like, I want everyone to see the development I've made.
That's a thing. Like, content creation, building a personal brand, building a brand, it is a journey. And I think One of the interesting things that maybe you've experienced, and I know I have as well, is especially when I started Fate 6 or so years ago now, people did say, oh, well, this is going to be easy for her because she has all these followers. But I disagree. I think it's easy to start a business if you have a following. Absolutely. Yes. You're ahead of the game. You've got potential customers. I think having a following and starting a business and then actually sustaining the business.
Yeah.
Like, just because you have followers doesn't mean you know how to keep a business.
I got 3.3 million followers and I've just shut mine down. So that means shit all.
Yeah, when it comes to like the logistics of business and the financial side of business.
The other thing I learned is just because people say they love a product and they would buy it, doesn't mean they will.
No.
So I'd throw up a post to be like, oh my God, I'm going to order this because isn't it hilarious? Everyone's like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'd love one.
But
then when push comes to shove, they're like, oh, actually, no, I'm not going to buy that. And so I'm like, oh, shit.
You said.
I'm stuck with 1,000 of these little tiny tips of a penis to put on your toothpaste tube. And you squeeze it and it looks like the penis is jizzing. I'm like, as if it's hilarious. What do you mean you don't want to spend $12? I have 1,000 of them. What am I going to do? And so it's like you make that mistake 3 times, which I have, and you go, okay, well, that smaller quantity amount is like the best advice.
That's my advice to everyone, and that would have been my advice to you a couple of years ago. But you live and you learn. In this whole journey with your fuck off shop, you've announced it on socials that you're shutting down in quite a vulnerable video.
That video, I did that on a whim because a lot of people were asking me. I was doing a lot of lives from our warehouse packing orders. So I genuinely thought, I was like, right, I'm closing the business down. Let's do a closing down sale. I have $240,000 of stock that I need to move.
Like, it's 240 grand cost or if you were to sell?
If I were to sell.
Yep.
And actually... Trudy'd know the answer to that.
Yeah. Call up Trudy. 240 grand.
240 grand. And I thought, oh, shit, like, it's going to cost me a fortune to try to offload it onto someone else.
Yeah.
And we had the sale idea and I thought, well, if no one's buying it, why would they buy it now?
I think it's easy if you are on that downfall in your business, like you're going from a high to a low. It is really easy to just feel like it's better to just give up and not say anything about it, not post anything about it. And you said in your video that you did just kind of give up and put your hands up and
actually you commented earlier. I switched off and gave everything over to Trudy, which I mean, she also had a mental breakdown because I couldn't handle it all. I'm not data. I'm not analytics. I hate meetings. If you run a business, those are the 3 main things that you need to do. And so anytime I was in a meeting or there was any data or analytics, I feel like I probably have ADHD. I have something. I physically couldn't compute it all. Right. And I'd just zone out. And it was just getting to a lot of that. And I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I don't have any products that I'm making, so I'm not engaged in them.
Yep.
I'm over all of these things because no one's buying them. I don't want to do them. I've got no money to try something else, to invest in. I really wanted to do the sex toys, but I came in too late for that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have the money to invest in them. And so there was all these ifs and ands and maybes down the line. And then I was just like, oh, too much, Trudy, you take it. You do whatever you think you need to do. And then she just looked at everything and went, well, I think the best course of action is to close it down.
Did you build an email subscriber list during this time?
Klaviyo, we had, I've got a huge email database.
Which is really important for all of you business owners out there. Put that banner on your website and get people subscribing to that newsletter.
Yeah. What's your incentive? Do you have incentives?
Yeah, I think we do 10% off the first order kind of thing.
Can I give you some advice?
Yeah.
You don't have to take it. I had a spinny wheel.
Oh, yes, I've seen those.
And I saw that and any website that has a spinny wheel, I'm like, oh my God. And it's like the same percentage off that you would give on your pop-up. But I'm like, oh, I won. Okay, I'm going to buy something.
Yes.
And I
have seen those.
Yeah.
Fun.
And what you do is you add in some really good ones in there because they have to put their emails and stuff in to use it.
Yeah.
And then you can put in, this is how it works in the back end. You go, oh, see that 95% off? Okay, for every 1,000 people that use it, we're going to give that one 0 times as a win. I mean, no, I put once.
Yeah.
But you can control it all that way. So you're not, otherwise you're just losing money.
Throwing money away.
But when we instigated that, holy shit, so many sign-ups.
There you go, people.
When we send emails out, I can always tell because I've got Shopify on my do you have this, like, on my home screen? It tells me the sales numbers.
Oh, that's cool.
And so today we're sitting at $200. You're like, oh, wow. Yes. I make that every second.
Stop.
But yesterday it was like 2,000. I'm like, well, obviously an email went out. So I'll scroll through. I'm like, oh, it did.
And that's an interesting thing as well. The other day I actually posted a video just giving business advice on whether I think paid ads or email marketing is more important. And a bunch of people commented on it saying, I hate emails. I hate email marketing, which a lot of people do. And I do as well. Like every day I swear I'm unsubscribing to everything. But you don't actually realize how big of a portion email marketing is when it comes to a business. Like we bring in a lot of revenue through our email. It's called flows and campaigns. So like when people abandon their cart or when they place their second order, like you have all flows in place that they'll get these automated emails depending on their activity on your website. And I think a lot of brands overdo their email marketing. If a brand is emailing me twice a day or even every day, I'm unsubscribing. But I think for all of you business owners out there, if you can do it tastefully and give your customers value in those emails, they're going to want to open them. We send out 1 a week at Fate. And there's fashion brands that send 2 a day. We just do it tastefully.
And the subject heading is so gross. I'm like, make it a fun subject heading.
Yes.
Because sometimes that's the only thing they're seeing, and they'll see the first 4 words.
And that's the most important.
Yeah.
I see the title of your email as like the first page on like a real estate page. Like that's a top real estate.
Yeah.
Same with your new arrivals page. Your new arrivals page on your website is the number 1 landing page that people will go to.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine's the sale one. What's on special?
I love that. But like the first products that people see on that page that's your number 1 landing page, that's like prime real estate. You're going to put your best products there and your most high stock products there.
If only you were around.
You should have DM'd me.
If you want to save money, here's also another tip. You put things in your cart, just escape out of it. Maybe give it 24 hours and you usually get like a 5 or a 10% off. Or you've abandoned your cart, come back, here's a discount.
That is true.
Yeah. You sign up for the email, you get 10% off that one. And now, because you've already signed up, you go and you do the abandoned cart one, and it's clear that you have an abandoned cart discount. Then you get your abandoned cart discount. But then your program it knows when users are doing that. So it usually, you get 1 or 2 shots at that. Because my brother works at Adobe, so he handles all of those operating systems.
Right.
So he tells me, he's like, just wait for the 4th email from this brand. Because if I'm buying like a big appliance,
you wait.
Sometimes they'll flick you like a 25% off.
Love that.
If it's an end of stock line that they really want to get rid of.
I love it.
But I'm too impatient. Like, I want it now.
I'll just buy
I want it yesterday, and I'll pay for express shipping.
Circling back to your TikTok that went viral, I think you posted that. You're like sitting in a corner in your warehouse on like a little stool, and you essentially made this video which was quite long and it was very emotional, and you announced to your community that you were shutting down and that you were doing this big sale.
Yeah.
And then I think you would have been surprised at the support that was then shown like from you doing that video.
Absolutely. Thought that video, because it was 12 minutes,
would
do well on no platforms.
Yeah.
It was just there because a lot of people were like, why are you closing down? So I thought, right, I don't have a podcast anymore, so I couldn't push people to an episode of that. So I was like, I'll just sit down and I'll make a video. And it just blew up. And I think people really connected with just that feeling of defeat. You tried, you gave it your best. And that's when I realised that this closing down sale has been like a journey for a lot of people. They've seen the pendants, the hoodies, the fragrance, me trying all the dick and weird related things. And so they haven't forgotten. And I thought, 37 now, I'm a bit irrelevant.
That's what you were saying in the video. You were saying that you felt like no one cared anymore, that you were irrelevant, no one's going to care about this sale. And then it was the complete opposite when you did the sale.
Yeah, it was great.
It exceeded your expectations.
Well, it gave me such huge motivation because advertisers had stopped spending. So I wasn't really doing any brand deals like I was. Mm-hmm. I was struggling to sell tickets for tours. Patreon revenue was down. Facebook revenue was down. The business was down. I was like, I gave it a good go. It's time to go back to full-time work. I thought, oh, God. And then I went into this closing down sale going, please just sell 90 grand's worth of stock.
That was your goal.
Do 90 grand and that will pay off the minimum of debts that'll just be so good, just pay off what I owe, and then I will work out what to do with the rest of the $180,000 worth of stock. And literally, we launched it, on Monday at midday, and by the end of Monday, I'd done maybe like $60,000 in a day. And I was like, oh! The sale was a month long, so I had a month to make $90,000.
Yeah, wow. Shit. You nearly did it in a day.
And so then the plan was to go live and pack orders to drive sales.
Yeah.
I was like, I really don't need to do much sales driving. And people love the lives, and that's when I was starting to realise, they're really in on the journey. And then, 60 became 120, became 145. So 3 days in, I'd made $145,000. And, I think I sold about $220,000 worth of stock.
Wow. So you
Thank
got rid of most of it.
Oh, it's so good. And then I'm constantly like, how much goes into my personal account? It's like the first time I've seen money in so long. And so what was good about that is, of all the money that came in, so that was $220,000 of net profit. Mm-hmm. Gross profit's a little different, and then you've got overall
revenue.
Yep. So the overall revenue was like, up close to $300,000. So old Christian would have seen old revenue going, I've just made $300,000. And then go, right, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to invest in this, I'm going to do all this with the business. And then the invoices come a month later for shipping costs, which are included in that $300,000, which, whoops, I have forgotten about in the past. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm hit with an $80,000 shipping bill of money that I've spent on product that I can't sell. And so that's the cycle that I was in. And that's why I ended up closing down, is because I had so much product that I couldn't sell.
And I think that's one of the hard things for business owners is you get into business and say, let's say it is successful, you are making all these sales and this money's coming straight into your account. You forget that that's not all yours to spend.
Yeah.
If anything, I would say have the mentality of half of it isn't yours.
Correct. Even more. I go 60%.
Yeah.
And then, I got a bit of an extra bonus.
Yes.
But another thing I learned is because, as an example, I made a backpack. Say that backpack costs $40 from the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. I go, okay, cool. What's, for recommended retail, you double it. So $80. And then what I'd learned is, no, you've got a shipping cost on top. You've got the warehouse storage fee. You've also got the pick and pack fee that the warehouse charge you. It's like $4, $3.50 for them to pick it up and put it in an envelope. It costs an amount of money, which is fair.
Another amount for the label.
Yeah.
That's one of the scary things about working with those 3PLs is, you're not packing the orders yourself. You're not paying your staff to pack, but you're paying someone else.
Yeah. So if you don't realistically go, okay, well, the backpack, so add the $3.50 for the packing. So now that's $43.50 for cost. Mm-hmm. Add $1 for the marketing on Facebook for each product. Add another $2 here for the warehouse storage fees. And then you've basically got about $50. So then you double that. What you were going to sell for $80, you're now actually selling for $100. Mm-hmm. And so that took many lessons for me to work out.
I had that struggle as well in the start of my business journey, and fate was I did the same. If I'm selling it for just double the amount of what I bought it, then I've made money. Buy it for 30, sell it for 60, perfect. But that's not how it works. And then I also did have a massive fear of people complaining that it was going to be too expensive if I went too high. So then I was pricing pieces out of fear that people would say it's too much. So I'd go, I'm only going to price that at 40, 45 because I feel like if I do 55, then people will complain. But you really have to learn to let go of that.
But you also, you're not giving yourself room to put it on sale.
Yes.
So say you think it's going to be amazing. I'll just keep it at 44 so we can sell out. You don't sell out. You've got nowhere to go.
Yes. What has been... So obviously you've done your massive sale. You moved a lot of your inventory, which is amazing. It's better to sell it at cheaper than just be sitting on it.
Yeah, correct.
And now it's fully shut and you're done with the fuck off shop.
Pretty much I've just got these hoodies. So I ordered hoodies in October of last year because that's what you have to do.
Yep.
And I put them on pre-order because that just gives you that extra cash to be able to place a big order. And obviously doing a pre-order for a hoodie in the middle of January is hard.
Yes.
So I didn't sell many.
Because no one's thinking of hoodies.
No, of course not. And I'd planned for them to be here before the sale. I should clarify, I didn't think I was going to close at that point.
Yes.
But then when we did pick dates, the hoodies will be here early May and we can include those in the sale potentially and just get rid of everything, be done by the 30th of June. And then as things go, we were actually 8 weeks of delays in the hoodie, and they'd only literally just arrived, a third of the way through winter. I mean, I ordered them, I'd planned for them in October. I'd ordered them early January, and it took 6 months basically to get here.
It's a long
time. And it's
time.
the most stressful thing because you're like, I'm losing my window of winter.
Yeah.
And so these are the last things to go, and then I'm officially
Done.
What
has been the biggest lesson that you've taken away from this whole experience?
Thinking you can do something and then investing all the money in and going, all that money I've invested, if this doesn't work, the business will collapse. Mm-hmm. And don't do that.
Don't overestimate it.
Don't overestimate
but
it.
But don't underestimate it as well. You've got to find that perfect
balance.
balance.
I'd rather underestimate than overestimate.
Yes.
That's the lesson. Oh, no, we sold out. Rather than, oh, no, I have 1,000 dick-shaped toothpaste toppers to get rid of.
What's been the biggest personal lesson that you've learned? Like, not a business lesson.
That I genuinely despise business. That I can't do the data. I can't do the analytics.
You've got
I hate
laugh.
it. I actually hate it. I hate it.
But I think that's a good thing for you to realise, because I think business can look really easy on social media, but there's so much to it.
It's a lot of work. It's like a child, a needy, really expensive child.
Yes.
Which is pretty much me. So I tell mum's like, oh, it's just like you as a baby. The money pit that never returned anything. Trudy really wants to do something again. She's like,
that was going to be my next question.
Go.
Like, what is next?
So a lot of people have always been asking for me to design some fun nurses scrubs. Because I made a video like 6 years ago where I pretended to be a nurse, and it's one of my most popular. And so a huge amount of my audience are nurses and teachers. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll do one. But I've learnt that you say you want something and you never buy it. So it's just like, just a small, I'll test the water.
Mm-hmm. I would suggest get some paid ads running.
Yeah.
Facebook ads and Instagram ads.
Yeah.
You can sell all your products on your own, but the ads are going to bring in new customers that don't know who you are. They're going to be those people that are purchasing outside of you, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
To have
it's
customers
very important.
coming in from different angles.
God, you sound like them. Yeah, they're like, it's really important. I'm like, oh, cool, just do it. Like, I don't want to be in this meeting. I think that's also why I failed. I just I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to be here. Oh, I email my, is it good? Okay, well, approved. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm really relieved that it's shut down. A lot of people, I get stopped a lot now. Like, I'm so sorry, Nico. I'm like, no, I'm a new person. Like, this is the best thing to ever happen.
I felt this has been just a chapter, and I think there is a lot of fear with business owners that, everyone is scared of failure. And when you're in business, there's so much at risk, and businesses can close down at any point. I always think one day, fate will end. It's great to highlight the realities of business, of how tough it is and how fucked up it is, and that essentially every business will end one day. And I don't necessarily see it as a failure if you've decided to close down a business. I think I meet a lot of people in Sydney that are more like top dog things, and they say like exit when it's at its peak, like, sell it off to someone else. What's your exit strategy? Yeah. People always ask me, I'm like, I'm not fucking selling this.
I didn't start this to sell it off and make a lot of money. Like,
exactly.
I'm so passionate about this.
I think if you or anyone has been on a business journey, they've built it from the ground up, they've seen it at its peak, and they've seen it out to its end when it has come crashing down, I don't see that as a failure. So I think it's been so good for you to document that on social media, because no one talks about...
I'm surprised.
Yeah, no one talks about that shit.
I think it's all this mask of we're doing great. And especially having worked in radio as an industry, there's no... and companies in general, it's how are we going to grow? What are we going to do? I'm like, well, the climate... What do you mean? How are we going to grow? The climate is so bad at the moment. But they want that growth. So, okay, well, we'll fire all the staff. That's going to save us a lot of money. So then in that financial year, we can report that we've grown. Meanwhile, your business is fucking falling apart.
Struggling because there's no people in it.
Why is there this perception that every year we have to grow? Why do we have to grow? You're comfortable. Stay comfortable.
There is no end to it. And one thing I do try to do is enjoy now and realize that where I am now, I never could have dreamt of being 3 years ago. But it's hard when you are scaling to then stop and enjoy. You want to keep going for that next thing because it's never fucking ending. Is that your stomach?
Oh my God. Do you feed him?
Nah, I just make him work all day.
That was so loud. The mics wouldn't have picked that up. But Xander, is that the sign to wrap up and go for lunch?
Yeah, we need tip of the week.
For the end of every big business episode, I like to leave our listeners with just a tip of the week. It can be big, small, it can be a personal life tip, it can be business. Do you have a tip of the week for us?
Oh, Jesus.
I feel like we've already...
You did prep me for this. Did I email you an answer? My tip is don't overthink, but I feel like that's something that's
That's
just
a big
mental
one.
problem that you need to see a therapist for, because I overthink a lot.
You said it will be bleak and dystopian.
Oh, yeah, just give up. Just give up, everyone. My tip.
Wow, what a positive to end on for this episode.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're so welcome.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on Big Business.
And you never heard from me again. No, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, throughout my whole journey of this, I would constantly look and watch you filled with jealous rage because I'm like,
I wish
she's
you had
so
reached
successful.
out to me. And this is another tip for you listening. Reach out to people.
That's a good tip.
Reach
Because
out.
also, I love giving advice. It also fuels your ego a bit.
Yeah.
There's another thing I learned from radio is just ask for advice from someone. If you want to get in at a company, you ask the top CEO for advice. And did we all hear that growling again?
Yes,
Yes,
I
we
just
did.
did.
I pushed through
Xander's
that.
stomach is
Oh my
growling. We are making
God.
him work through his lunch break.
But anyway, ask for advice.
This has gone rogue. Ask for advice, give up, and that's
No,
it.
yeah, ask for advice. If you don't like the advice, just give up. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.